Oh, hello there. How did you get into my house? No matter. Now when you're stuck here, let me read you some memes. Good evening, laddies, lasses and lassos, and welcome to the click you smell absolutely dandy finalicious today. And don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Do I have an amazing treat for you today? I have scoured the internet for the most ridiculous, outrageous, raunchy posts that you can imagine. Everything from conspiracies to pseudoscience to really bad hot takes on Twitter. And I have compiled them into this beautiful... Compiled them. Language is difficult sometimes, and we are gonna read them together and facepalm through this entire video, so I do hope that you enjoy it. Mwah.
So I do hope you enjoy it, because you do deserve enjoyment, believe it or not.
Now let's get started before all this ridiculous amount of caffeine takes too much of a hold.
The flat truth, the very self-evident observation and conclusion that Noah's flood actually happened is very easy to comprehend and realize if you world be able to literally get rid of your delusional be-lie F in that non-existent spinning ball. You see, it's very evident. I won't tell you why it's evident, it just is. Basically, you're stupid if you don't believe this. Why do all craters on Earth form exactly 90-degree angle to the flat surface? This is where the argument is at. Alright fam, if a meteor comes from space, they usually go very fast, right? This means that instead of dragging along the surface, they usually just go kaboom and disintegrate. And kaboom, aka explosions, are usually pretty symmetrical. I mean, there can be inconsistencies with the shapes regarding craters and that kind of stuff, but usually this is the logic behind it. Neither of them ever had any tilt or angle of track before impact. If we live in a spinning ball in space, what are the chances of any impact of space rocks?
Oh, I get space because space isn't real.
Hitting Earth straight down at a perfect 90-degree angle.
Okay, so the argument is that if Earth is spinning like this and something is coming like this, but it's still gonna be a 90-degree angle, isn't it? Unless it's like coming like this, but I don't know, fam. Like, the argument still stands. It's so weird.
Have you ever wondered why a rainbow is shaped like a dome?
No.
Well, here is your answer.
Oh, because it's a dome, that's...
Okay, have you ever thought about the fact that you can never find the edge of a rainbow, right? It's because it's dependent on how you perceive light where you're standing right now. It will always be like a circular thing around you because that's how the light bends and how it reaches your eyeball and that kind of stuff. Hence, you can never reach the end of the rainbow. There are even like, old mythological kind of stories and jokes about this kind of stuff. So I think it's more to do with just light perception, perhaps, than like a dome. And also, if you actually look at how far away the rainbow is, that would mean the dome is, like, super tiny. You could, like, toss a rock and hit the dome, if that was the case.
But you can't! Now can you?
This is God's firmament, Genesis 1:7, and here's a rainbow. Yeah, look, if that was the dome thing, the dome would literally go down between the mountains. Your own pictures aren't even consistent. What the shit?
Craters aren't from asteroids. Okay, but wasn't that like the whole argument? Or maybe they're proving that asteroids aren't real, but from waters erupting from the Great Deep at the time of the Great Flood.
I mean, geysers are a thing, but it's not the same thing.
I feel that's a pretty strong start to the video. Sets the bar low, doesn't it? Oh, this is absolutely beautiful. Let's keep reading, shall we?
What is the nastiest thing you've done for revenge?
Anonymous. I found condoms in my wife's purse. I looked at her phone and she had text and naughty pictures of her and a black guy. Oh yeah, this is completely made up, isn't it? I had been fixed years earlier. I took a pin and punched a hole in all of them. She ended up preggo and tried to convince me it was mine. I left and was able to walk away with no loss of income.
Why is it always a black guy in these posts?
Because it's a fake story meant to trigger the lizard brain parts of reactionaries. I think the idea is that people would know the baby wasn't his and that she cheated. Could also just be a racist, though who knows? I think it's a bit of both. It ties into the stereotypical story being like, oh my god, the baby doesn't look like me, so must have been, oh my god. I wonder if there's an actual accurate way to dig into how many of these kind of posts are actually fake or real, or even if they're not fake, how many of them are just retold? Someone just repackages a story as their own to just get clout. So how many of the stories are actually original and true versus how many are repackaged reposts or just straight up lies? That'd be really interesting to see. I bet the statistic is just mind-blowing. The Sun 2015. We will be having naughties with robots in the next 10 years.
1 more year, let's go!
No, 2015 is 9 years ago? Oh, I'm more bothered about this than the whole robot thing. Oh my, no. I'm not that old. No, I refuse to believe this. It's still 2016. Don't worry about it.
Remember the Texas prisoner who sued for a cotton blanket because he was allergic to the prison's blanket, and officials refused to give him a cotton one instead? I got records showing the state spent $20,000 fighting his case instead of giving him a blanket.
Money well spent. You could have bought people like 10 4090s instead of doing this. What an absolute waste. This is really one of those instances where principle just goes too far and past any point of pragmatism. It's just ridiculous. Mesky hesky, those who want power are the ones who least deserve it. My brother in Christ, you bought the website! Oh my god. Twitter has really been going steadily downhill, hasn't it? The amount of trending hashtags that have some intriguing implications is absolutely wild. The fact that it's just allowed on the platform in the first place just blows my mind. It's absolutely ridiculous. Question number 4. It took Marie 10 minutes to saw a board into 2 pieces. If she works just as fast, how long will it take her to saw another board into 3 pieces? Answer, 20 minutes.
Answer 15, you see, because 10 minutes is 2 pieces, so 15 minutes is only 3 pieces, but 20 minutes is 4 pieces, so the answer is 15.
Okay, dear teacher that knows math so well. The tricky thing with this little question that you have constructed here is that you can't divide it on the amount of pieces of board. You have to divide it by the amount of saw incisions. That is what matters. So 3 pieces means 2 incisions, which means twice the time. Dear God. Oh my God. After reading so many of these kind of posts, I'm a little bit tempted to just have like an entire video with just shitty math. That'd be so much fun. It's like a confidently incorrect, but very specific. This kind of stuff always just tingles my laugh muscles. It makes me a little bit sad, but I think the laughter like cancels out the sadness. So I think it's fine. Woman donates kidney to boss, then gets fired for taking too long to recover. Yeah, that seems like corporate context, isn't it? At this company, we are all a family. You know, until something like this happens, and then you kick them out, you know? Family members can't be allowed to recover. You're a family member for as long as you're not a hassle. A death row inmate discovered there were untested fingerprints that had been found at the original crime scene. In a last-ditch effort to prove his innocence, he successfully petitioned the court to run the tests. They were found to be his own fingerprints. I mean, impressive that he actually got them to do the thing, but it didn't really do much now, did it? Cops beat up teen after bank teller mistakes his bricked up for a pistol. It's been 5 years. I thank God for my life. You know, it's kind of wild when you can't tell the difference between private parts and a gun. Hypocrisy much? Surprise! Anti-LGBTQ+ Moms for Liberty co-founder has her own gay naughty tape. Moms for Liberty, that's like a wild title to begin with. Co-founder Bridget, of course her name is Bridget, fights against kids reading books about same naughty parents in school. I swear to God, I see this way too much. I can't tell if this is people who are like in denial of their own preference and existence, or if it's people who are like forced to be in the closet because of the system and they play into it to like avoid everything around them turning on them. This is something I think is like a legit problem in these areas. We always joke about this kind of stuff that, oh, the people who say that gay is a choice, for example, it's like, oh, they're just bisexual in the closet, which isn't great because it projects the whole blame back on the LGBTQ community, which isn't the point. But I wonder sometimes if people are just too worried about being ostracized about their surroundings. So they will basically play into this whole homophobia and this anti kind of stuff in public and then just act out their stuff in private and hope nobody catches it. I think that is a surprisingly common phenomenon. It's really sad and it shouldn't be the case. Iowa wanted religious displays in their capital, but said they wouldn't discriminate against any religion, and the Satanic Temple just put up a display in there. And every Republican who professes to just love the First Amendment is losing their mind. This is always the case. I just love a bit of satanic trolling. It is always so incredibly funny.
But what? No, that's not how it works. Free speech for me, but not for thee. Oh, this is not how it's supposed to work. One time, this girl really hated me and wanted to ruin my reputation or something. So one day I was talking to a boy and she came up and really obnoxiously said, "You know he has a crush on you, right?" And he was like,
"Man, I hope so, or else this is gonna get really awkward."
She freaking told my boyfriend that I liked him.
When you try to be so toxic and make it awkward for someone, and you just play right into it. Oh, isn't that just beautiful?
On my flight, I was talking to a guy next to me, and it came up that I run. He starts telling me how I need to train high mileage and pulls up an analysis he made of a pro runner's training on his phone. The pro runner was me. It was my training. I didn't have the heart to tell him. A stranger starts explaining your own training program to you.
I always find stuff like this really funny, because I think there are a lot of people who are very eager to just assume that the person talking to you does it out of malice or because they're patronizing, you know? And this happens a lot when you're a YouTuber as well. The amount of times that someone comes to you and starts like talking about YouTube on a very, very basic level to you when they find out that this is what you do is like staggering. But I always take it as more of a compliment than an insult. Like, of course, you get some annoying, unsolicited advice from time to time, but it also means that the person is actually invested enough in what you do that they want to talk about it, like they find it fascinating. So I think like taking it as a compliment in those instances is probably good for like just the positive vibe of it than anything else. Although to be fair, there are like butty people that try to like explain what you do to you, which is always very funny as well, but it usually has a different vibe to it.
I guess I'm just wondering what your expectations are from a partner.
Like, in terms of expectations from women?
Or men. I don't know how you swing.
Oh, women. Not men.
Lol, okay then. What are your expectations for your girlfriend / wife / whatever?
Can I be honest about it? It might be seen as outdated or something.
Yeah, of course. This is a judgment-free zone.
Honestly, I am looking for a traditionally feminine woman. Someone who isn't going to mind being the child rearer and homemaker. Someone who is going to take care of her appearance and herself, and just all around content to be a female in our relationship. Be a female in our relationship. Okay, it's going great, isn't it? I know that's pretty anti-feminist or whatever, but it's just how I feel. Lol.
Oh, slay. I don't think it's anti-feminist or outdated at all. To be honest, that's pretty similar to what I want too. Kind of my dream, if I'm being honest.
Really? Eyeballs?
Yeah, I would love to be able to focus on making my house a home, working on myself, and just be taken care of without having to stress about expenses or money, lol.
What do you mean?
Just that I would love a traditional man who's going to cover my expenses and make sure I'm getting what I want. Someone who brings that kind of masculine energy.
Oh, I think I know where this conversation is going. Oh, no, that's not what he expected at all. No. So you're looking for a guy who isn't going to mind buying you whatever you want and basically will just bankroll your whole life?
I don't know if I would put it like that.
So you're a gold digger / user, basically?
More like someone who will take care of our family financially so I can take care of him and his kids, etc.
So you're a gold digger? No, I promise.
How is this any different from you wanting your girlfriend, wife to take care of the home and the kids? It feels kind of like a double standard for you to call me a gold digger.
I mean, any relationship is like a two-way street. You know, some person in the relationship might make more money or the other one contributes with something else. It's fine, and how you structure it is really up to you in the relationship, at least in my opinion. Some people enjoy it to be more traditional, some people want it to be more 50-50, others structure it completely different. And that is perfectly fine as long as both people are into it. You know, your own relationship doesn't have to be political. I hate that whole logic, but this is kind of wild. Like, what do you want then? You want the lady to also work, but also take care of the whole home. Now it's no longer a 50-50 two-way street, fam. It's not a double standard. It's different, because the things that I'm looking for, emotionally stable, takes care of herself, good with kids, are inherently female traits. Well, okay, well, there are dudes that are pretty good at, like, taking care of families and stuff, too, but you can make the same argument the other way around, too, then. Like, oh, the breadwinner is traditionally masculine. What is this argument, fam? Good women naturally have that stuff. Good women naturally... Oh my... Okay, no, that's not the way to formulate this at all. Oh, no. You're looking for some rich guy who can buy you stuff. That is not naturally part of being a guy. It's totally different. I mean, especially of how expensive life is in general these days. You think I'm gonna be able to afford a $500K house on one salary just so you can play dress up and not have to worry about a job? But you wanted her to take care of the kids in the house and everything. All that stuff combined is pretty much a full-time job if you have a house with the garden, a couple of kids, maybe a pet, and that kind of stuff. Like, either you both share the house and the kids and you're both working, or like one person stays home to take care of it a bit more, or like you have to divide it. Like, you're basically asking the woman to both work and do everything at home, and you only work. That's not good. You expect to not contribute to the bills or the cost of living? F you! I knew there was something wrong with you! No wonder you tried to humiliate me at the restaurant. What? I should have left right then and there. My guy, chill out. I never said I was looking for a rich guy or a 500k house or anything like that. Just that I want the guy to take care of me, especially if I'm raising his kids. How can your dream woman be the homemaker and child rearer if she's also working full-time and pay the bills? I have absolutely no issue with gender roles or divisions of labor in a relationship, but you're not looking for a traditional woman. You're looking for a maid and nanny who can also help you pay the bills. Frick you! You say you were only interested in me for my money. Yeah, having like meltdowns in text messages about a date is definitely very alpha trait, isn't it? Next time you match with some sucker, tell him that up front so he doesn't waste his time with you. I paid for last night, my dude. He's throwing a hissy fit about the other person being a gold digger, but he wasn't even the one who paid for the date. No way. Oh my god, no way.
What do you mean interested in you for your money?
Shut the frick up! My comp ski degree is gonna do way more for me than your business one ever will. Okay, so now you're like sitting and arguing, comparing degrees. Jesus Christ! Birch! Now I know why you're getting a finance degree. Probably so you can scout out the rich guys and try to steal their money. I'ma be honest, fam. If she was really doing some kind of scheme, she wouldn't talk this openly to people over text message after one date. She wouldn't pay for the date to begin with. You know, this is way too much transparency for being someone who's playing like shady business and that kind of stuff. You're just being really weird and like comparing your degrees. I'm gonna make more money than you in the future. Oh yeah. No, I can see why your dating life is going so.
If you're going to curse me out and call me a gold digger because I want a traditional man, even though you want a traditional woman, something tells me you're not the type of guy I'm looking for. Lose my number, but I hope you have a good life.
Hey, you up right now?
No, hit it like a drunk hookup text. No. Oh my god, no freaking way.
This plays into every single stereotype you can imagine. This is gold. This whole text conversation is amazing. I think one good takeaway from this post, a bit more of a positive vibe, is that you should look for a relationship that you want. And of course also that the other person in the relationship wants too. If you want a specific dynamic in the relationship, then that's what you should be looking for. If you want it to be completely 50-50 on every metric, then that's what you should be looking for. And that is perfectly fine. Not everyone is the same. People look for vastly different things and have different tastes when it comes to relations. But being so weird about it, you know, you're not actually looking for the second puzzle piece in this case. That's the problem. You're looking for someone to take care of this puzzle piece over here, while also contributing 50-50 to this puzzle piece over here, which means that what you would contribute is only half of the finances, but not the home stuff and not the second half of the finances. So you're really just contributing 25% of the relationship, roughly cut. That's weird. And then cussing the other person out because they don't want that. That's wild. Don't do that. John Oliver spends 30 minutes taking down Elon Musk. Oh no, how will Elon recover? Oliver was great several years ago, but he stopped being funny when he sold his soul to wokeness, where humor is basically illegal. 1,300 likes in 14 minutes. Sold his soul to wokeness. Dear God.
What Donald Trump said out loud, millions of fathers with gorgeous, maxi daughters think about. You think fathers whose daughters end up in Playboy or are actresses, models who use their naughty appeal to promote their attributes don't fantasize about them. It's called being human. Sweet home Alabama.
That is so wild. I'ma buy this Playboy magazine because one of my relatives is on the cover. That's literally what this post is. That is amazingly insane. Oh my god. This fast food employee got fired for this. You need to find someone to work your shift, or you work your shift. I have a doctor's note, and you're not contagious. I'm vomiting and throwing up and can't get out of the bathroom. And you're texting me, so you can either find someone to work, or you just don't work anymore. Ah, bet. If you are a manager, it is your job to find coverage for your employees when they're out. If they're sick, do not expect or require them to come to work. Get ready to hire and train a new person also. It is frankly more work. That is one thing I've never understood about this sort of people. Like, number one, you could have texted someone in the time it took to have this argument about the doctor's note, right? You could have just texted two people and write a couple of texts like, hey, can you come in today? The manager, that is. And number two,
training someone new is way more time consuming and expensive for you as well as a person, and way more annoying because you have to bring them up to speed, and they have to shadow someone most of the time, that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. It just saves everyone time and a headache to not do this. It's just so weird to me. It's so weird. A 10-year-old Mississippi boy who was arrested for public urination after he stepped behind his mom's car to urinate has received 3 months of probation and is required to write a 2-page paper on Kobe Bryant. Child receives probation? That's the priority? Oh my god. And here you have this punishment essay, kiddo. I'm so glad our legal systems have their priorities straight. Absolutely beautiful.
Can Italian, Spanish, and French people understand each other?
These are 3 different languages. What?
American and English and Australian are different language too. They still understand each other.
Okay, do you really understand Australians though? Just gonna be on. Okay, okay, that's beside the point. Alright, aside from the last statement, which is just absolutely out there, some languages, of course, makes it easier to understand other things, because some languages have a lot of words in common, or for example, they all come from Latin, or they're Germanic languages. For example, I'm Swedish, and I understand Norwegian relatively fine, Danish, not so much. And for example, when I speak German, there are a lot of words that are very similar or have a lot of crossover. Or from English, for example, you notice similarities, and the same thing, for example, between Spanish or Portuguese and these kind of things. And French as well, there are a lot of Latin words that sound very similar. That doesn't mean you just speak the same language, though. There are varying degrees to this, and also depends on how used you're to hearing it. For example, I know people who actually understand Danish, even though I don't, and they're also Swedish, and it's because they hear it more, or they watch TV programs that are in Danish and that kind of stuff, so their ears get used to it, and then there are enough words that are a bit similar, so they catch on. I don't know how they do it. It sounds like gurgling potatoes. Sorry, Danish people watching, not really. And okay, next post, please. Thank you.
Why is it whenever I meet a good guy, we only vibe as friends, and whenever I meet a toxic guy, the butterflies in my coochie starts acting up?
Those aren't butterflies. Oh god. Oh. And I just know that this shitposty sarcastic tweet is gonna be trending in all kinds of shady places online for like 3 months now on. Isn't that beautiful?
This is what women are like in dating, because my sample size is this one
sarcastic troll account on Twitter. This is all women. A bar owner is arrested after a St. Louis police officer crashes into his business. The officer who crashed into the bar said at the scene that he was trying to swear around the dog on the road. One of the bar owners said. The owners of the bar said that a police vehicle crashed into the business. The police arrested one of them and handcuffed the other one because the bar was in the way of the car. Absolutely beautiful. You're not allowed to legally build in front of police cars, but you're the one who drove into it. You should have thought about that. Apple CEO confirms the tech giants are working on driverless cars. Apple Car. It is the year 2032. You're driving on the highway to work in your Apple car when you hear the news that the new Apple Car 2 is coming out. Suddenly, the speed of your car goes from 95 to 25. Chaos ensues. Or, they just do something sneaky, that it just burns more and more electricity, so it becomes more and more expensive to charge. Kind of similar to how your phone stops performing good after a while, and the batteries just die earlier than they should, and that kind of stuff. It's just going to be the same thing for your car. The distance you can drive is just going to start decreasing until you have to buy a new one. The future is bright. That's actually an interesting dystopian timeline. We move towards electric vehicles because it's more environmentally friendly, of course assuming where the electricity comes from is green energy to begin with. But then the companies get greedy, so the cars get less and less efficient, and you have to buy a new car every year, which of course produces a lot of CO2 during the manufacturing. And also the old cars driving around are now so inefficient that they just pull a crap ton of electricity from the network, so you're forced to burn more coal instead, and it just becomes a dystopia. That's kind of interesting. I could write a book about this. I mean, I still want to be positive and hope that specific scenario doesn't happen, but we shall see, I suppose. Do you see it? Do you see the problem? Look, here's the core at 10,000 Fahrenheit and 7,000, 3,000, 54 Fahrenheit. To be honest, I don't even understand what the dude wants to prove. That if the Earth was round, we would all be burning up because it's too hot under the crust to be real. I don't get it. Wouldn't we all be burning up if it was flat too? No, because the crust would be flatter and cooler, and would have a magic layer of cooling pixie dust to protect us. because you can actually see them if you drive off the edge where the water flows down to the bottom. Simple. Oh my god. One thing I find so weird about these kind of conspiracies is that they're just ignoring incredibly basic concept at this point. And they're not even interesting. They're fun to make fun of course. But there are conspiracies out there that are like interesting in the way that they have actual motives or incentives, like geopolitical factors and people pushing stuff in this kind of way and blah 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 and media corruption or whatever. It's like interesting stuff that often has a sprinkle of truth in it. But this kind of stuff just becomes so wild because it just ignores stuff that you can literally calculate yourself. You can do this with a pen and paper with basic thermodynamics. It's not even particularly difficult, you know? It's such a shame, man. It's such a shame. Same with like anti-vax and all this kind of stuff. It's based on nothing. Less than nothing. It's ignoring the actual proof and then just make shit up.
I wanted this man to be vulnerable with me for so long. He finally called me yesterday and opened up. But the second he started crying, I lost all interest in him. Quickly. This is a safe space, but not that safe. Smiley.
Ugh. If there's any takeaway from all this kind of stuff, that is a bit of a positive spin. Hopefully this guy finds someone who is not this person, you know? And number 2, don't take dating advice from TikTok. God. People love to sound sophisticated and brag about European art and architecture. I have seen America's and I have seen what they've got. Theirs can't touch ours. Yeah, look at this American architecture that was designed and built in America. Yeah. You know, if I was gonna be so confident about something, like to be proud of my country or whatever like that, I would probably do like a basic Google so that my whole point didn't like contradict my argument. And that would probably be a good idea. Funny how practically every religion basically says, don't be a pee-pee. But ultra-religious people are like, lol, no. Honestly, you can kind of find this behavior with a lot of things, right? You can see this among, for example, veganism as well. Not that being vegan is bad. Of course it isn't. But you will always have this group of people in anything that just turn it into something it's not supposed to be. Like there are people that have argued vegan diets for cats. You know, it's literal like animal abuse. But you're also a vegan and you're supposed to love animals. But you take your weird ideology so far that you're contradicting the whole thing you're supposed to stand for, which is don't be cruel to animals. So this kind of instances happen in all kinds of groups of people. And I think it's more to do with, the nature of certain humans and what they can use to justify that behavior than anything specific, if that makes sense.
I ran into my #1 spender on OnlyFans. He's been my #1 spender this year too. Look at that, $107,000.
This whole thing actually turned out to be staged. Not the transactions themselves. There was actually a super fan, or whatever you want to call it, that spent a ridiculous amount of money, and then they faked the whole meetup thing so people would like make it go viral and that kind of stuff. I think I had this in a video, and I saw it right before I released that video. It's like, oh, no way. And it's not even completely fake. That's the thing. The amount is real. They just spiced up the story a bit by faking a meetup, sort of. So that's the wild thing. So I'm not sure how real that quote tweet is either, but like spending $60,000 in a month or $100,000 in a year on OnlyFans is pretty wild. Well, had a heart attack. Get the frick up. What's wrong with you? Go to hospital later, have a drink, cigarette, cup of coffee. Yeah, you see that if you have heart issues, drink a cigarette. My mother has had a heart attack and is in the hospital. I'm going to court tomorrow to request an emergency visit to London. Okay, it's sad that this happened. I hope nobody wishes his mother harm. That shouldn't be the point of it. I hope they get well. But what people get mad about in this kind of cases, which I think is very justified, is the hypocrisy, because you're preaching something that is very harmful, but then you don't actually do that yourself when it happens to you or the people around you. It's very much like anti-vax people who've like gotten vaccinated themselves, but then refuse to vaccinate their kids, for example. It's the same kind of logic, and it's just kind of like double gross. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is 3.3 billion richer than a week ago. Amazon is the 17th for the number of employees on food stamps. Yippee! Priorities! Man, 3.3 billion in a week. Damn, that's some good... damn.
PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. We're not going anywhere, Starbucks. Literally, we're super glued to your counter. Look at that. Yay.
Okay, I don't have like an exorbitant amount of love for Starbucks or anything, but this just kind of obnoxious because you're just annoying the people there. You're not like, I don't think this is gonna make a difference. It's just annoying. Just work around them. Closing time, just close up and go home. Leave them there. Didn't the company do that once, not long ago? I remember they tried to sue, because after closing, they weren't given any water, food, or adequate restroom and were trapped. Yeah, that was like a car dealership, because they came into the car shop and glued themselves to the floor by the cars, and the employees were just, let's take a half day. They were just stuck there. That's kind of funny though. It's just ignoring the tantrum. Dallas homeless situation. Say no to street charity. Be the solution. DallasHomelessSolutions.com. I think stuff like this would be more empathetic if there was a solution actually offered, instead of spending money on signs, instead of like spending the money to, I don't know, help people. You know? I think it's the same kind of stuff when money is spent on anti-homelessness architecture and those kind of things. Like, these kind of things can really affect a neighborhood and safety and that kind of stuff, so you do kind of understand the motivation behind it, but the frustration comes from spending so much money on, like, pushing a problem slightly further away instead of trying to solve it or find a solution. And that makes it come off a little bit wild, doesn't it? Duh! What exactly happened here? Feminism was created to force popular culture to accept ugly women. Weirdos are really out there complaining that the 14-year-old girl wasn't attractive enough for them, and they wonder why people develop, like, body dysmorphia and that kind of stuff. This 14-year-old girl in the apocalypse isn't hot enough. Great. This is where the argument is at. Wow. Thank you. Michelle, please stop before you say something that ruins your credibility. Women may claim to like naughties, but you really don't. You tolerate it under limited circumstances and during limited time frames. That is nature's design. Please be honest now. I need to literally hang up like a whiteboard or a neon sign with a counter for every time I see a dude that tells on themselves so hard and tries to make it an argument like, all women are liars, or all women are biologically broken. So many have been with me, and no one liked it. Could it be the common denominator, which is, it's the women, it's them? Bro, I swear to God, you couldn't waterboard this out of me. My God.
Average American classroom, do you approve?
And here's a picture of a little classroom. I guess the argument here is that it's too diverse or something, and like Ermagerd, Merca, and that kind of thing. You can just say you're racist. It's okay. Don't be shy.
Breast milk vegan. I am vegan and gave birth to a daughter that drinks my breast milk. Multiple people have pointed out that baby isn't vegan because she's drinking my milk, although I am vegan. I have gone on to tell them that I'm consenting to give my milk and not harmed, etc. Just wondering, some of you would say to explain this to someone that mentions it to me.
Why do you care that a baby is vegan?
One of them being mother-in-law, so I need to be a bit more tactful. Thanks.
I'm not sure if you should care if someone says that your baby isn't vegan. I think the baby's health probably comes before having the title of being vegan, and it should probably be their own choice as well when they get a bit older, you know? What's mother-in-law's opinion on the fetus using the mother's bloodstream as a source of nutrition while in the womb? Also non-vegan? The fetus is obviously a vampire cannibal parasite. Something like that, probably. Ooh, all babies are vampires? That's pretty cool. You know, when people start arguing if a fetus is vegan enough, then maybe the argument has kind of like, left the station and missed the point, kind of.
Smartest man in the universe versus dumbest woman. We need tuition-free college and trade school.
School is a waste of time. You see, I debunked a politician using a Rick and Morty meme. Smartest man in the universe. I mean, yeah, in a cartoon. I remember seeing a panel with the creator of Rick and Morty, and they're asked about, like, the fans that think it's the most intellectual shit ever. And he's like, what? What the hell? Half of it is fart jokes. It's so funny. I love that. The guy I used to bully was my interviewer. I didn't get the job. Can I file a lawsuit against the company? So you weren't hired based on the concern that you've treated people poorly in the past, and your dynamic with the team is probably not going to be very efficient. And that's lawsuit worthy? That's pretty much, I mean, even assuming that would be the case, I'm not sure if they would actually tell you that. They would probably just say that some with a better resume came along, which we most likely excuse in this case. But you're literally trying to bully the company with a lawsuit because your bully victim wouldn't hire you. Damn. I wonder why people see you as a bully. Swedish model gets threats after ad shows her unshaven legs. This person is bombarded with online abuse after posting for Adidas video with hairy legs. But people have way too much free time to be this upset about things that don't affect them in the least. It's absolutely wild. Like, here's the thing, if you have a preference about, for example, grooming in your partner and that kind of stuff, that is fine. But why would you send threats to someone who is not your partner, who don't fall into your specific dating preference? That is so weird. Imagine if this was the logic that everyone applied to this kind of stuff, that you would just send threats to anyone who doesn't match your dating preference. We would all just be flooded with death threats every single day. Because let's be honest, most people don't want to date most people, and they have their preference and stuff and yada yada. Like, this would be... Oh my god, it's also kind of like some weird parody dystopian, isn't it? Jesus Christ. You know, people that do this are absolutely pathetic. Cease. Trump says if Biden's elected, he will listen to the scientists. Oh my god, you know the discourse has gone completely astray when that's a threat. He will listen to the scientists, don't elect him. Oh, please, Facebook mom anti-vax groups, listen to me. Unvaccinated conservative eating gun owner, how else can I offend you today? People don't mature past the age of like 13-year-old edgelords, do they? No, they don't. I am buying a house, and my mortgage rate was going to be 8.1%. My mortgage broker just called me. Good news, he said. Your rate just dropped. We can now offer you a 6.5% rate. I thought for a moment. No, I replied. He was puzzled. What do you mean, he asked. Give me a 9% rate instead. It will motivate me to grind harder and make more money. I don't want to get too comfortable. This is how you build wealth. 6K likes. 6,000 people saw this and was like, this is good advice to get rich. Accepting garbage rate on loans is how you get rich. Yeah, throwing 30 grand in a dumpster is exactly the way to build wealth. Ah, 30 grand. A full percentage point where I'm at is $1,000 extra per month or 300k over the course of the mortgage. This is how you bleed wealth. I don't think people realize how much interest actually affects your mortgage payment. That 2.5% is hundreds of dollars more every month. If you don't believe me, just Google mortgage calculator and play with the numbers. Yeah, this is pretty stupid. How to make more money? Just burn money. Wouldn't it be smarter to just put it in like investment or stock or just basic index funds or anything? Like, no, I would rather burn this money because it motivates me. That's a really weird way of motivating yourself, fam. If I were to make an argument for motivation, it would be something like, oh gee, if I keep this up, I could afford a mortgage in 5 years. That's very motivating because it means something. Throwing money away for nothing doesn't really mean much. Still hate me for a mistake I made when I was 17 years old. And Chris Brown is tired of getting bullied for doing the bad stuff to ex-girlfriend Rihanna before their ugly split. Yeah, you see, there's a difference between, like, mistakes and mistakes. You know, there's a very distinct difference between like, oh no, I made an inappropriate joke when I was 16 versus I literally assaulted someone. It's a little bit like, yeah, nah fam, come on now. All babies are ugly. All. Women disagree because they're hardwired to think that they're cute and that's okay. Men, even men with kids can all agree that babies are ugly as human get. What are these hot takes even about nowadays? It's absolutely wild. What are you arguing for?
Space Force is about exploration and finding out what's out there.
But NASA does space exploration.
NASA's only going to tell us what they want us to know, whereas I think Trump will send his own stuff and we will find out the truth.
What truth? What do you think the truth is?
This 1,000 times over. It's a bunch of ladies trying shoes in a circle. In our ladies' Bible study, I asked all the women to bring a pair of their husband's shoes to class. When they got there, I asked them to put them on. We spent the rest of the evening wearing shoes that were in most cases way too big for us. We were stumbling around and tripping over them and they definitely were not comfortable. It was really quite comical, haha. We quickly realized that our husband's shoes are way too big for us. They are meant for our husband's feet, not ours.
I mean, yeah.
So, why do we insist on wearing them? I, for one, don't want his job or his responsibilities.
Oh, it's a shit metaphor. Nice.
There is no way I could handle the physical or mental stress that he deals with, and wearing his big old dirty boots was really a good reminder of...
Okay, half sentence, I guess.
Their shoes aren't meant to fit us. Huh? The load they have to carry is heavy. They are responsible for our family in ways we will never truly understand. So let's stop trying to wear our husband's shoes. Instead, let's pray for them.
Like, pray for the shoes or for the husbands?
Encourage them and let them be the men God has called and created them to be. Hashtag God's way is the best way. Hashtag marriage goals.
I swear to God, if there's always one thing that gets so comical about these kind of posts, it's like shitty analogies. That you can just make them mean whatever you want. I saw the same with some like math analogy. It was like, oh, men are ones and women are zeros. Because if you put a zero in front, it doesn't add value. But if you put a woman behind the man, then it multiplies because behind every great man is a woman. So you just made this up. What? Men are poo and women are pee. So if a man is too bulky, he can clog the toilet, but then you can pee on it so it unclogs. You see? So the lesson is that just put women on top, because then it doesn't clog your life. Yes.
News, woke Nintendo. Brie Larson set to play a
female version of Samus in the Metroid movie. /FacePalm, who's gonna tell them? Okay, I think this is just a bait, so it's kind of funny because it's the FacePalm in a FacePalm, because it's like taking the bait that is not actually real and it's an obvious bait because Samus is obviously a woman. So that's kind of funny. FacePalmception is always entertaining. Peace on Earth, and you see all the women in the family have like tape over their mouth. Finally peace on Earth. Finally peace on Earth. Finally peace on Earth. What an amazing standard to set for your kids, right? Like those young boys are definitely gonna grow up with healthy relationship expectations, and so are the girls. Isn't this just, wow, what a good way to prepare your kids for the world? Not to mention, like, the household dynamics in this place. Oh, you are so beautiful. Marry me? Never mind, I just jerked off. You mean nothing to me.
The chances of finding a man with the following characteristics: not married, any race, at least 6 foot tall, not obese, earning at least $100,000 per year is under 1%.
According to statistical data, the probability of a guy in the US male population ages 18 to 40 meets your standard is 0.35%. Okay, there are a few things with this analysis that instantly stands out to me, statistically speaking. First off, $100,000 per year is quite a lot, so let's look into this, shall we? So if you only check out how many people actually make $100,000 per year in the US, it's 18% of Americans. So already with that metric alone, only 18% of people will be eligible for your requirements, not even counting the rest. Another aspect to consider is that the data is going to be skewed. Most people's career don't peak when they're 30, meaning that most people that earn $100,000, or they're going to be more likely to reach that level past the point of 40 when they have like a few decades of experience. If you look at data regarding this, just really basic Google searches of this kind of stuff, you will find at the age of 25, only 2% earn more than 100K. At age 30, 7%, and so on. So the age bracket you have chosen for this statistic will also make it even less likely, because the expectations are really out there, aren't they? And then you can add the height requirement to that, and it's only 14.5% of men are over 6 feet in the US. So those two combined alone with that age bracket, of course gonna be a small amount of people. I think the problem with a lot of these like dating guru trends that I see online is that they focus way too much on hyper-specific metrics. One important thing to remember when it comes to statistics like this is that when you start grouping people based on this many metrics and very specific metrics, is that every statistical conclusion is going to be very tiny, because there are so many ways to group this data. You know, what about tall people that make 50K a year? What about short people that make 60K a year? What about the tall people that make 60K a year? You know, all this kind of stuff. Every group is going to be very small, statistically speaking, because you have decided that there are so many groups. And of course, on top of that, a more soft point, so to say, something that doesn't have to do with math specifically, is that I think you're just looking at the wrong things. You know, this is kind of odd metrics to have for a partner. Usually, when I met people in the past, and current relations included as well, you don't look at metrics like this. If you click with a person and you're heading in the same direction in life, that's usually all it takes, and then you can build it together and go along. I think people that get so obsessed with metrics like this on any side of the spectrum aren't in happy relationships themselves, or they haven't had a lot of relationship experience. At least that is my impression. Because if I'm gonna be honest, if you don't mesh with a person personality-wise, it doesn't matter if they're 6 foot or 5'11", you know, who cares? And to keep in mind with this specific example is that a lot of the stuff is just kind of skimmed over, but many of these points are very specific. Take only 2 of these to begin with. Like, they have not married, race, they have height, they have your body shape, they have earnings, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be hyper specific. But start off with only 2 of them. Start off with height and how much money you make. If you pick a height and a revenue that is 10% each, and assume they don't correlate with each other, that these are independent variables, we can do that for an hypothesis, I suppose. If they're 10% each, well, it's going to be 10% of 10%, it's only going to be 1%, and that's only 2 of them alone. Stuff gets really specific really fast when you work statistics like this, and I don't think this is a good method of finding an actual partner that you love and have a fulfilled relationship with. This is just over-obsessing about hyper-specific metrics, you know? I actually tested its calculator just for myself, which is kind of funny, and it says that I'm in the 0.014%. And that isn't because anything on this is particularly insane, but the combination of the metrics makes it so ridiculously unlikely. You have a specific race, you have a specific height, you have all this kind of stuff that, you know, just narrows it down. And that goes for any demographic really if you add enough variables, because the groupings are going to be so many that they become small by default. This is probably not a healthy way to see reality, if I'm gonna be honest. Well, laddies, lasses, and lasses, I do hope you enjoyed this beautiful video as much as I enjoyed having you here, you wonderful and beautiful beings, and I hope to see you again in the very near future. Take care. Mwah.